welcome to another episode of Coast Connections. I'm Elizabeth Hines, and we're coming to you as always from the Sunamuch territory here in Nanaimo, BC. And we have a doggone great guest today. Our guest is an animal crusader, animal welfare rights, protections, adoptions, a heart as big as gold, and a very compassionate person. And he's also a very brave, lion-hearted person, you'll understand in a minute too. It's not just dogs and cats that he's rescuing, but the big cats, some lions. Please welcome to the show, Jesse Adams, the founder of RainCoast Dog Rescue Society.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Jesse, and you also have with you Nikki today.
I do, yes.
Nikki, your beautiful long-haired Corgi.
Yes, here she is. Yeah, just relaxing, taking it easy, enjoying the moment, being a star. This is what she does, wherever she goes.
We're so lucky to have an animal, a 4-footed animal on the set.
Yeah. Thank you for having her.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Now, where did you find Nikki? Because the story behind that goes to the story of the Dog Rescue Society.
Yeah. Shortly after the Ukraine war started, being Ukrainian myself, I felt a calling to go over there to help. So on my first trip there, initially, I was working along the border of Romania and Ukraine, also going in to deliver supplies and so forth. And one evening I was coming back over the border and I found her being chased down by some other dogs. And I decided to stop just to try to help her out and stuff like that. And kind of the rest is history. I just kind of stayed with her. She ended up jumping in my car. I ended up just taking her with me to where I was staying, snuck her in for the night. And well, the rest is history once again. I just ended up keeping her after going through all the kind of hoops that you need to jump through to make sure that your dog is healthy and safe to get back to your country, like Canada, coming from Ukraine, Romania. So we did that, and I was able to bring her back after my second trip going to Ukraine, which was shortly after my first one. And here she is today, still with me. I couldn't give her up after that. I just ended up keeping her myself. I just could not adopt her out, and I am very happy that I made that decision not to, because she is just probably one of the sweetest dogs you've ever met.
And one of the happiest that we've ever seen.
Yeah,
she's just such a contented dog.
She is. Yeah.
Thank you for the work that you've been doing with your society for the last 10 years. I think this is your 10th year anniversary, Jesse.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
And obviously, you do work abroad, but you also do work right across Western Canada and in Nunavut and in shelters in Vancouver East Side, helping, supporting communities that really do need help today.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the factors that are leading to some of the issues that we have with animal welfare right now, post-pandemic.
Yeah. After the pandemic, we've noticed, during the pandemic, obviously a lot of people took in animals, adopted animals, bought animals. A lot of people were at home. Yeah. But as that slowly transitioned back out to regular life again for a lot of people, unfortunately, animals were taking the brunt of that. And I think a lot of people maybe didn't have foresight to what would be needed after the fact moving forward in life when you get an animal, as they are a lifelong commitment. And unfortunately, we saw the biggest increase that we've ever seen in my 16 years in rescue, at least, of people surrendering their animals. And it is still happening to this day in large numbers. It has not slowed down. I think there's a lot of factors. The economy, obviously, the rising prices of everything. Inflation is huge. We have a lot of sympathy for that. Issues with housing availability and costs. That plays a huge part. So definitely have a lot of sympathy with that and things that happen in people's lives. But overall, things always fluctuate in life, in the economy, in the world. Nothing ever stays completely the same the whole time. So there's always ups and downs. And I just think overall, hoping moving forward, regardless of everyone's reasons for why they might be, is that we all just take more consideration into what it takes to really have an animal and to have them for life. Because when you do make that big commitment, that should be the thought that you're having, is that this is for life. So whatever happens, I may lose my job, or I might break up with my partner, or whatever may happen. You really want to have that deep conversations of understanding those hard questions with one another or yourself to what that really takes if that was to happen, and what alternatives you might have to be able to still have your animal with you. So I'm really hoping that moving forward, people really think it through, because in the moment people get very excited, and I know people want animals and dogs, but sometimes between what we want and what it really takes are two different things. So I'm hoping moving forward, people just really take that into consideration, because owner responsibility is overall the number one thing in general when you get an animal, and that's a very big responsibility that essentially should be lifelong. But either way, we do try to help people if these situations come up, but we're hoping that the times slowly start to change and transition away from this dramatic increase, what I would honestly call an epidemic, because we've never seen anything like it, to the point where rescues and shelters are shut down. They can't take in any more animals. The resources are depleted. They are exhausted. And yet people are still calling in large numbers every single day to try to surrender animals. And what do you do at that point? You know, it takes a mental toll on those rescue volunteers and workers to have to say no every day when all you want to do is help. Yeah. And so it's difficult on both sides. I hope people can take into account our side, because it is really mentally straining when you have to do that every day and say no, and you can only help very little compared to what you used to be able to. But yeah, just hoping we can all work together in a more responsible manner moving forward. Yeah.
You, on your website, you have a statement that says shelters and rescues are like a life raft, and the community is the ship.
That's right.
And the iceberg is the intersection between that, where the surrenders happen, where the owners have issues, where there's economic reasons, and every time you take in another dog onto your life raft, unfortunately, others have to be let go. Right. So, and that's the reality that you're facing every day, isn't it?
It's a very sad reality we're facing ever more now than ever, and that iceberg is only growing. And you know, we've essentially crashed into it, and everyone's basically in the waters at this point looking for a life raft. And we never want to have to tell anyone, no, we want to be here to help everyone. But you know, everything plays a part, from resources, finances, availability, whether you have a facility or you're just using foster homes. And those can be more scarce and few and far between right now as well. So everything has played a part, and we just really are looking for some positive change, or at least something to level out for now, so that we can start to implement things where we can, more programs or resources where we might be able to really adjust with what I'm calling the epidemic of owner surrenders. Yeah.
And RainCoast Dog Rescue is a not-for-profit society.
Correct. You're
relying completely on volunteers.
Correct.
And as I say, it's your 10th year doing this tremendous work with dogs and cats and other animals as well. You have your Adopt to Own program. I think that's been a very successful one for you. Foster to adopt.
Correct.
Pardon
there
me.
You go. No, it's okay. No, you got it. It's pretty much the same thing, but just the wording. Yeah, foster to adopt program. Yeah, that kind of entails where, besides really young puppies, at least, because that's pretty straightforward for the most part. But of course, when you're coming to get a dog, you know, there's a lot of the write-up of what you initially read, of course, and the picture you see. And it's easy to fall in love just from that, of course. Yes. But there's the reality of what is actually going to take in a dog of any nature in that sense, and with your own type of environment and lifestyle, of course. And you want that to match up, because it's not just about the look of the dog and how cute it is, but essentially what that entails with that particular dog, or their breeds, or their age, energy level, or what they've been through in their past, perhaps. You know, a lot of dogs and animals have had some difficult pasts, right? So you need to try to rehab and recover with the animal. I think moving forward, the Foster Adopt program allows us to have people meet the dogs, go through the screening process, and if we all feel like it would be a good fit, they get the trial period. This way you really get to know the dog a bit. You don't maybe feel misled, right, from one side or the other. You can work together as a team. We supply you everything you need during that time, and it makes you feel more comfortable that after the few weeks or whatever you may have, that you really feel like, okay, I know this is the right dog for me. We might still have some work to do, but you really gave me the time to feel it out, get to know them, and vice versa, the dog know them and their lifestyle to find out if it works out. And this way, everyone's feeling really good when they say, you know what, we're gonna commit, we've done our process, everything seems good, this is the one for us, rather than agreeing on a whim, which can sometimes work for some people, but can be very upsetting for others, because when you make such a commitment, like you say you adopted, and then to feel like you have to give back the dog, but you've adopted, it almost emotionally makes you feel more like you're failing that dog, rather than the trial just didn't work. And it's easier just to say, well, you gave me that nice, little bit, and then they can not feel as guilty or bad returning the dog for us to try perhaps with another dog that may be a better fit. So both sides just feel good about everything. There's a solid amount of stable kind of understanding that allows you to feel comfortable with decisions you're making on both sides. And I think that program for any rescue is always a really positive program. It just makes everyone feel comfortable with what they're doing. It's like test driving a car. You don't just buy it because you see it. You want to get in, you want to drive it around, feel if it's right for you. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, because that look can attract you for the car as well, just like with animals or other things. But essentially what is the reality is once you kind of really step into it and get to know what's going on.
I really am proud of the work that you're doing too with First Nations communities, with Indigenous communities. And just this weekend, you were with the Cowichan tribes.
Correct, yeah.
And doing a wonderful clinic there with them. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've such a lovely community, honestly. I love Cowichan tribes, everyone within it. They're always so kind, so understanding. We've worked together in such a beautiful way over the years. Probably worked with them for the last 5 or 6 years pretty directly, getting to know a lot of leadership and the other members of the community. And so this weekend was the first ever spay neuter clinic that we've ever done there. I believe it's possibly the first spay neuter clinic they've really ever had there in the capacity that we've done it. And being the largest First Nations community in BC of over 5,000 members and one of the largest in Canada, it was an honor to be able to go in there with these amazing volunteers of veterinarians from different clinics around Vancouver Island, vet techs, volunteers to step in and really make a big difference for people and their animals there, especially with the rising costs of vet costs for everyone. It can be very difficult now to even be able to afford that. So to be able to offer these beautiful services with the support of Cowichan tribes, BCSPCA, ourselves, and stuff like that, it was really nice to see. The community was just so grateful that we were able to spay and neuter 61 dogs and cats.
Wow.
We were able to vaccinate dozens more, parasite treatments, and just even offer support such as food or advice. And this way people are feeling really good about having their animals. It kind of gives you just a little, everyone feels a little more confidence about themselves and having that animal, not worrying about unwanted litters or other risks that may have if animals are left unfixed for long periods of time, especially because sometimes you may come across an animal that is potentially roaming, and that can pose a risk to your animals around as well. So stopping those unwanted litters, stuff like that, and being able to just make animals healthier and safer for the community is such a positive thing, and they're very grateful. And we'll be doing another one just before Christmas to finish off this year with them.
Wonderful. Fantastic. And that was all free for anybody who brought their animal,
Yeah,
their
it was
pet.
funded by ourselves and the BCSPCA that granted Cowichan tribes a nice grant, and then we were able to optimize that through our knowledge and understanding of what it takes to be able to create these clinics, because it takes a lot of planning, especially when you're asking all these kind veterinarians and their staff to take their time off from their weekends, from their families or their own jobs, which they already work very long hours and is very tough work, very important work, but it's very difficult work, right? And to have them come and offer their services was just something that's amazing. And you put that all together with timing and arranging of the space, and we get approval from the Canadian Veterinary Association, of course, as well, which takes time. It all comes together, and when it does, it's just a beautiful thing. So we couldn't be more excited to continue on with Cowichan tribes and then continue on with other First Nations communities throughout British Columbia, Vancouver Island as well. It's a pretty exciting thing for us. We really do feel good about doing that.
With the level of professionalism that RainCoast Dog Rescue is demonstrating with these types of clinics and rescues is tremendous. The partnerships that you've built up over the years, Jesse, that's absolutely fantastic. And the end result is the most contented animals you could ever imagine. And hundreds and thousands of them probably are out as we speak. Where did this compassion and love for animals come from, Jesse? What was the name of your very first pet?
That I can remember is probably Hammy the hamster. I had a hamster named Hammy, and I think there was a TV show on TV, I forget what it was called, but it had a little hamster, a little mouse, and like a gerbil and a guinea pig, I think. Then they lived along a river or a creek. It was a children's show. I don't know, but that's kind of where that I think essentially derived from. I always just had a love for animals, even just being up, living near the reservoir when I was a kid and seeing snakes around and birds and other things. But essentially I kind of give all this benefit to my late mother who passed away when I was a child. I was 19, but she worked for the government for like water, land, and air protection, just helping. She worked with First Nations. She also just worked with helping with the protections of animals around British Columbia and such like that. So she really brought that compassion into the home from the day I was born till, you know, the last day that she was with me. And we always had animals around our home. And even though we didn't have much, she always just had a big heart to offer as much as we did have. And so I think my biggest inspiration is probably my mother overall, definitely, and doing this a lot in her honor, but also because it's something I love. It's a lifestyle for me. It's not something I wake up and just do as a job. It's who I am. It's who I've become. So for me, it's a very, very beautiful thing. Takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of determination and focus, patience, compassion, but it's worth it because making a difference in this world, I think, is a beautiful thing for anyone in any way that you can, capacity that you can do it. And if we all just do even a little bit, what a difference we can make in the world.
Jesse Adams, your mother would be very, very, very proud of you. You are your mother's son.
Thank you, I am. Yes, thank you.
Let's go to Ukraine. Let's go to war-torn Ukraine for a minute and talk about the lions.
Yeah.
The big cats.
Yeah, the big cats.
That you rescued there that were shell-shocked and burnt from projectiles and missiles. Take us to that zoo in Odessa.
Okay, so essentially on my second trip to Ukraine, I worked with a wonderful group called Breaking the Chains. And they were founded by an ex-British Royal Marine, and a lot of the other members that he knew or were in there were in Ukraine with him working, helping to rescue animals in the regions where they were affected by shelling, or war, fighting, as well as people that are affected. They're always dropping off supplies, clothing, medical supplies, food, or extracting these people to get them to safer regions if they were stuck and couldn't get out. And they were a big inspiration that I was noticing was doing great work over there. So I contacted them. They said, come on over and work with us. We'd love to have you. So on my second trip over there, I went and stayed with them for 6 weeks. And one of the many missions that we were able to do was helping 9 lions. Essentially, he was contacted by the Odessa Zoo saying, you know, as our city is being bombed, we're very concerned about the animals we have here at the zoo, especially the ones that are predator animals. I think it's one thing to have a few giraffes sadly get loose in a city and people come out, but you come out your door already dealing with war and concerns and stress, and 9 lions are wandering around your city. That's a whole different story. And so I think they were just really wanting to be able to help the animals that were most at risk at the time and to the community. And so they chose the lions to get out first, and they asked Tom to be a part of that with another great group called Warriors for Wildlife, which are, they run out of South Africa, and they're like a wildlife sanctuary for big cats. So we were asked to do this. He came in the room and said, would you want to be a part of this? And I said, absolutely. I mean, that would be a dream. What an experience for someone who loves animals and rescue. So we essentially made a plan. They executed the plan when we went from Ukraine into Moldova, into Romania, into Moldova, and then into Ukraine from more down the southeast region so we could get to Odessa easier.
And this was, they were now loaded on the backs of trucks.
Not quite. That's when we just went to arrive, and then we got there. We evaluated the zoo and the situation, discussed the best way to kind of do this. We also had Worldwide Vets with us. So Gemma from Worldwide Vets was there, and she's from South Africa as well. So she had a lot of experience working with lions because it's a particular, if you've never worked with that size of animal, it's obviously a whole nother scale being, you know, a large predator animal.
I was looking that up before the show today. From the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail, a full-grown adult lion is 11 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Huge.
And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're fast and they're smart. And they're gorgeous, but they are animals that can cause a lot of damage very quickly.
And especially if they're traumatized.
Of course, if they're scared as well, any fear response from any of us as an animal is, yeah, it can just be you're more on edge, so you're more likely to react. They did great. We were able to be at the zoo. We that night we stayed at a local hotel where you had to turn out the lights all at about 6 p.m. because obviously any light on could pose a risk for being hit by a drone or a missile. So you basically sleep in the dark, eat dinner in the dark, whatever. Get up the next morning. We tranquilized all of them for a short period of time. You can't keep them tranquilized long. So it's like a 40-minute trank, 50-minute trank.
Really?
Yeah, it's very quick because it can be dangerous for their heart rate and other things. So essentially you're just trying to trank them. and then we safely loaded them into independent cages that were on the multi-vehicle convoy that we had in safely there. And then shortly after, they woke up, and we keep a close eye on them. The doctor was with us the whole time, as well as the teams, to keep a close eye, and we started our journey. And it took about 2.5 days from where we were going to where we need to end up. We ended up eventually in the middle of Romania at a zoo there that was going to hold them temporarily in a safe enclosure until they could be flown back to places like South Africa, to a wildlife sanctuary where they would live out their days, because essentially once they've been put into a zoo, they kind of lose that hunting instinct, unfortunately. So it's nice they were able to go roam free and be the animals they were always destined to be in those type of scenarios. So that was a beautiful thing for us to be able to do. You can only imagine stopping at every gas station. You have about 5 people there when you come in. When you come out of even just the gas station getting a drink or whatever, the bathroom, about 100.
Wow.
It would be very quickly that the word would spread that there's 9 lions sitting here at the zoo, or at the gas station, as well as the border. They were very good. It takes time to do all the right paperwork, of course, which we had, but at the same time, obviously, that's not an everyday thing. No. Even during a war, it's just not an everyday thing that you see. And so when you roll up with 9 lions, obviously a lot of people are very interested in what's going on. You're trying to keep it fairly calm, though, obviously, for the lions, and keep them relaxed and stuff like that. But, you know, people wanted to take a look. The border guards themselves, obviously. I mean, you can't blame anyone for that. But we just tried to keep things quiet and peaceful as we could, as we kept moving from zone to zone where we had to go safely to ensure that we could get to our destination. Yeah.
I think, Jesse, there's a children's book in there for you, The 9 Lions.
Yeah, it's very interesting, actually. You'd be surprised what can come of that. Yeah, it's very interesting. Even during those lions, we ended up rescuing a dog that very day we were loading lions on, a little dog that we ended up naming Odessa, a little puppy that we brought with us the whole trip for that reason, too, that everyone fell in love with. It was just so interesting. Dog and 9 lions. It was just one of the best experiences.
You're like modern day Noah.
I mean, the team. I like to look at it as a team. Yeah, definitely, but I appreciate you on that. I do. But what a great team, and just the dedication and compassion that these people have. I was just so honored to be there and just to be included in any way possible.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And how are the 9 lions? Do we know?
From what I'm told, they're doing really well. I think actually one went to Colorado to a big sanctuary there, and the rest went back to South Africa. And we do check in, and from last time I heard, they're all doing really great. They're all flourishing in their new areas of just massive acreages where they can just run free again and enjoy themselves.
You know, I wish all of Ukraine could recover as beautifully as that. Let's just
thank you. I appreciate that. As a fellow Ukrainian, I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
we definitely
send some hope and peace into that area.
Thank you. Yeah, and a lot of Canada has a lot of Ukrainian heritage here.
Very
too,
much so.
It affects a lot of people here and around the world.
And animals have such healing power too for people and soldiers and others who are recovering from harsh situations in life. And I think animals rescue humans more than humans rescue animals sometimes.
I agree. It's true. I mean, when you get an animal, the type of healing abilities that they really have, sometimes you didn't even know you needed, other times you did. But it's amazing what they can offer, and they're so intuitive, and they're so loyal and loving and compassionate. I mean, if we could all just be a little bit more like dogs in this world, or some animals in general, I think the world would be a better place, you know what I mean? So if we could just look to dogs, I think, what a difference we could make.
I read something else on your website that said it would be a different world if animals could take their humans to the pound.
It would. I mean, if animals could speak, you know, I think they would say a lot. And so sometimes why us rescuers kind of have to talk as their voice, to have those tough conversations, sometimes say things that some people may not want to hear, and we understand that, but somebody needs to be their side of the story. And I think it's important for that to be heard. The ones that don't have a voice need a voice. So all the ones out there in the world that are making that difference for animals, being that voice, it's so important. It really is. And it takes a special person to really do that kind of work.
And Jesse, how can people help support the work that you're doing there with RainCoast?
Well, thank you. Yeah, so they can go to our website, our Facebook page, or Instagram. Our website is RainCoastDogRescue.com. You can read up all on us. You can ask us any questions you'd like. Just send us some messages or even call us. We love to hear from you personally. And then you can ask the question you need to ask, unless you already know enough from reading about us, or maybe you've been following us for some years. And there's ways to donate, you know, through our website and other things like that. And also with just items. We have a lot of, we have a side project called the pet project where we give back to people in the communities that are maybe low-income families living in supportive housing, experiencing homelessness, or what have you, that might just need a little extra help with their animal to get by. So we get a lot of this extra food and stuff donated that we're able to offer back to them so they don't have to give up their animals. Same with subsidized or free vet care, which I think is also very important during times like this. Yeah.
Of course, with the economy and with inflation, vet care has also gone up, and that's going to have, in some cases, a deterrent for animals.
It will, yeah. I think with the rising vet costs is something I think everyone has been very concerned about, especially here in Western Canada, but anywhere. The prices has really just extended to beyond reasonable measures. I want people to remember, though, that being said, it's not your veterinarians that are causing that. Please show a lot of love and respect to your veterinarians and their staff. What they have to go through every day and the effort they put in and the things that they have to see and deal with are very difficult, and they're always there to try to help. But you have to understand that a lot of corporations are buying up these clinics, and I'm not gonna just hear and just put down corporations, but essentially corporations are buying up these clinics and really raising up the prices beyond even the level of inflation that you have for food, housing, or gas. And I know the Canadian Medical Association is doing an investigation into that. So I think something like that is being looked at, because essentially when these prices go 4 or 5 times the amount they were just a few years ago, it's very troubling for people, especially in a time when the economy is already so tough. So it's not just your food, your gas, and your housing, but now you're dealing with that as well with veterinary costs. They're gonna naturally rise. I wish all that extra money went to the vets and the techs and still for the staff, because they more would deserve it, but it doesn't. And that being said, when you have costs rise 5 times the amount, people are less likely to be able to afford spaying or neutering, which can cause issues with unwanted litters, more incidents probably at parks and stuff like that, and just dogs getting loose and other things of that nature. Health-wise, it's always healthier in the long run to spay or neuter your dog as well. I know a lot of people may not see that or understand it, but trust me, in my world, you will quickly realize how truly important it is. Or even if you go overseas to almost a lot of other countries, you ever been to Mexico even, you'll see a lot of dogs in the streets, and you see how important it can truly be, because a lot of people may not see it, but that does not mean it doesn't exist. And it does exist here in Canada in a very big way, and we do have a big issue with that. So, you know, it's unfortunate that these costs are so high, and when less people do that, especially if less people are vaccinating even to go in, disease starts picking up, deadly disease for these animals, and that's always an unfortunate thing too. So we need to find some sort of way to balance things out, to get things under control for everyone's sake. It's a very difficult time for people, but I know if we stick together, we can make it through, and I think we can enact change through just positive awareness and advocacy, and really just, I think the whole world is feeling a little heavy these days, but yeah, I think sticking together, just remember to stick together, right? We need to do this as one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've run out of time here.
No problem. Wow.
This is just, it's just so fascinating to listen to you and to hear your passion for animals.
I appreciate that.
We really, really appreciate the big heart that you bring to RainCoast Dog Rescue. And hopefully viewers will support that work that you're doing and get their dogs spayed and neutered and enjoy the love that they receive from animals like this.
Thank you for having us here, and thank Rogers TV, because it means a lot to get this out there and to be able to have these conversations with people and get a better understanding and really educate and create that awareness together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for watching today. Jesse Adams, the Lion Whisperer, the Dog Whisperer from RainCoast Dog Rescue Society. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Coast Connections.